What does NATO do? Is it still relevant? Should NATO be expanded and have new members or not? How does the U.S., again, international role, should it pull back, or is it still important to be a leader and to encourage other countries to move more towards open societies and free societies, not by force, but just by encouragement?
Former U.S. Ambassador to NATO, he played a major role in political and military policies, serving under President George Bush. Bruce Weinrod.
Dive into the concept of decision making, which you see a lot of, especially in your industry. In settings where opposing views are common, how do you come to a decision that aligns with your values and your goals?
That's a good question. So I'd start out by saying there are different environments in which decisions need to be made. Are you in government? Are you in the private sector? Are you in a think tank? It's an academic setting. Your decision making can be different depending on where you are. Some places are the military. And the military is really no decisions that are made by the regular soldiers. The senior people who make a decision and everybody else is expected to follow it. And that's the way it works. If you're in a different kind of environment, if you're in the government, a decision could be made. It just depends, again, on the nature of the issue or the challenge or the problems. In many cases, you want to get different views. Then you have, in the federal government, you have something called the interagency process for foreign policy issues, where issues are often circulated for discussion throughout the relevant departments, and they give their positions and views and suggestions, and often they can agree among themselves. They find some approach they can all live with. Sometimes they have real disagreements for various reasons, and then it has to be raised to a higher level. And eventually, for the most important decisions where there isn't any agreement at the other levels, the issue has to be brought to the president. They have what we call decision memos. The president can be briefed. He can have a meeting of his national security advisors, and then eventually he may be given options, and then have to say, this is what I want to do, or this is not what I want to do. So again, it depends on the setting, the type of organization, and the type of issue.
Would you say a lot of them did have to go to the president because couldn't make a decision on, or would you say a lot of the times, would kind of?
No, very few, because everybody knows the president's extremely busy with all kinds of things, and the objective is to try to resolve an issue, if at all possible, at the lowest level, but if not, at some level below the president. And so if an issue has not been resolved, even at a higher level, they will continue to try to work on it for a while before, and it has to be an important enough issue. Eventually, then it would be brought to the president and say, hey, Mr. President, this is something we have some different views, and you'll ask for different views and recommendations, and make a decision. But again, that's ideally relatively few, because they want to not bring too many issues, just because I don't have time.
At Juliant, we're with you at every milestone, and your brightest dreams never have to fade. At Juliant, we help you shine. That's brighter banking. Juliant Federal Credit Union.
And what initially drew you to a career in defense and international policies?
Well, that's a good question. Initially, it was more, I had an interest in public policy. The issues that are raised, I studied, in school, and even in high school, you study history, and I thought very interesting things. I was watching what's going on in the world, and this seems to be something I'm interested in. I was interested in what's going on with Congress and just all the discussions and debates. And so when I got to college, I focused on government history initially, and then I knew I was interested in policy. I became interested in domestic issues as well, in terms of the issues of freedom and free society and how that works, and reading different authors, Hayek and Friedman and others. So I had some real interest there, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with something related to policy. And then when I ended up in the Army and I was out of the country for a while, I thought the international aspect of things seemed to really appeal. So when I was able to go back to school, for graduate school, after I was international relations issues, got my master's in that area. And so at that point, it was pretty much focused on whatever. I didn't know exactly what I would do after that. But the international area was what I was interested in.
And what would you say were some of the most challenging things you faced during your time in international policies?
Yeah, in terms of government service, I was in the Defense Department, actually more than once, but the first time was when the early days after the Cold War. And that was a challenging environment. What should the U.S. be doing to deal with a different world? No longer had the Soviet Union, the scope of bipolar relationship with the threat and challenges that the Soviet Union provided. So how do we relate? What is the U.S. role internationally? Should we be a leader? Might be yes, but and should we connect to the former Soviet dominated nations? And if so, how? So people wanted to be very cautious. Others wanted to say we should get involved with them quickly to establish some real relationships. That's what I thought, but others had different views. And then you had a whole different world when you had Iraq invading Kuwait. What should the U.S. do? I was in the Defense Department, and President George H.W. Bush decided that this was such a fundamental violation of international norms that the U.S. and other countries, he put together a coalition of many, many nations, and I was involved with the European nations in coordinating on the actions and involvement of those nations. So those are some of the challenges. There are more. How does NATO? What does NATO do when you no longer have the Soviet Union? Is it still relevant? If so, what's its role? There are a lot of debates about that. Should NATO be expanded and have new members or not? There are lots of debates about that.
Please.
Get us involved in some ways. And how does the U.S. Again, the international role should pull back the nuclear emphasize, or is it still important to be a leader and to encourage other countries to move more towards open societies and free societies, not by force, but just by encouragement?